Hello my beautiful babes out there, and welcome back to my channel. And if you're new here, thank you so much for watching today. In today's video, I am going to be doing a palette collection slash declutter video, just showing you guys everything that I own and the things that I'm planning to get rid of that I don't use anymore, that's expired, or that I want to give to friends and family. So if you're interested in seeing all that, then keep on watching. Alright lovelies, welcome. I hope everyone is doing well. Mojito's hanging out with us again. I think he's going to be in a lot of videos now because he is now attached to that chair. If I close my office door, he cries outside of it because he wants to be there. That's his thing. So I guess he's going to be my featured guest all the time. But anyways guys, this video is going to be long. I know it's going to be because there's a lot of things to show you guys. So get a snack, get a drink of choice, coffee, wine, whatever is your vice, grab it because we're going to be here for a while. We're going to be hanging out, so hopefully you guys don't mind that. And I also want to preface this, my collection is very huge. Nobody needs as much makeup in the world. I'm not promoting that you need this kind of stuff, but I am just a makeup lover, a makeup collector. I film makeup videos, so my collection has gotten big over the years. And this has been the things that I've acquired over many years, not just like in one sitting. I just bought all these things. So I just want to explain that to you guys before I get into the video. Also, if you're new here and you like fashion, makeup, beauty, and all that fun stuff, then hit that subscribe button and join this little family we got going on. And don't forget to click that notification bell so you are notified every time I post a video. I do try to post at least 2 to 3 times a week. So the first thing I'll do is show you guys just my setup back there and where my smaller palettes are, and then I will just start showing you guys everything. So let's get into it. Alright guys, so here is where I keep most of my palettes. I have a bunch of palettes sitting up here, and then on these shelves is where the rest of my palettes are. And I already have some thrown on the floor because I'm a messy girl. And there's Mojito, if you guys are wondering. Of course, he's sleeping. Right, my little sweepy. Love this guy. Okay, and then here in this drawer is all of my mini palettes. And that's pretty much it where all my palettes are. Okay guys, so here we are starting off with my ColourPop palette. So here we go. So the first palette I have is the ColourPop I Think I Love You palette. This is like my first ColourPop palette I ever bought. And this is just nostalgic for me. I will probably keep this forever because this was like when I first really started getting into makeup. Then I have this right here. I recently got this one, the All That palette. It's a beautiful red color story, especially this red right here is so pretty. I'm gonna try not to swatch too much in this video, but it's really gorgeous. And then I have this one right here. This is the Sailor Moon palette with ColourPop. It's a springy palette. It's not my favorite one, but I love Sailor Moon, so I'm keeping that. Then I have this one right here. This is probably one of my favorite palettes from ColourPop. This is the Perception palette. This was the Shayla and ColourPop collaboration. And this color story is beautiful. I don't think I'll ever let this go. And I think this is the first time they had ever made a palette this size with a mirror too. So I love that. Okay, so then we have this one right here. This is the Good Sports palette. This is also like top 5 for me. It is such a beautiful fall color story, and I hope they bring this back. I'm not sure if they did. The last time I checked, it wasn't on their website, but one of my favorites. It's so good. Here I have this right here. This is an oldie. I think this released holiday maybe 2018, 2017, something like that. But I'm actually going to declutter this. I haven't used this in so long, and I used to really love it when I had it, but I no longer use it, so I'm either going to give this away or get rid of it. Then I have this one right here. This is You Had Me at Hello palette. This is like an oldie one as well, and I really love this. It was like more of a cool toned color story with a little bit of warm neutrals in there, but I don't use this anymore. I haven't used it in a long time, so I'm going to let this one go as well. Then I have this one right here. This is the Golden State of Mind. This is like an all shimmer, kind of chunky like glitter palette that they did. I did like it at the time, but it's too neutral, it's too subtle for me, and I haven't used it in a long time, so I am decluttering this one. This is the Dream Street palette. This is a collaboration with Kathleen Lights and ColourPop, And I actually really love this one. I love the color story. I've loved most of her collabs with ColourPop, so I'm keeping this one. And then here's another collab with Kathleen Lights. This is the Zodiac palette, and I actually do really like this one as well. And the color story, it's fun, it's different, it's a little unusual, but I love it. Then I have this one. This is the Raw Beauty Kristi collaboration with ColourPop, and this one is gorgeous. I love the shades that she picked in this. It's like these dark tone mattes. I just live for it, and I just think she did a great job with like the packaging and the design and everything. So I'm keeping that. Then I have this right here. This is the Femme Rosa palette. This was a collaboration with Carucci, and this is the She palette, which I have not used in a while. It was kind of like a monochromatic like rose here that kind of helped you create a look, but I don't use this palette anymore. I haven't used it in a very long time, so I'm going to let this one go. Here we go. This is the Cute AF ColourPop palette. I think it's actually called the Yes Please palette, but this is the one that people went crazy for when they first came out. It's a very warm toned, like bright sunsetty color story. I'm gonna get rid of this one as well because I don't use it very often, and I don't wear a lot of shades like this. I'm more into cool tones. I'm actually going to let this one go. And then I have this one right here. This is the Sweet Talk palette. This is so pretty. It's like a corally dream, and I do really like the colors in here. It does have a couple pressed glitters, which I don't mind, and I think this one's like a super shock shadow, but I love this in like the summer and springtime. Then I have these two carnival themed one. This is the Fortune palette, which is a more warm toned neutral palette. I'm actually gonna hold on to this. I do like this formula and like the shade selections. It's a little bit more neutral than I like, but I actually think it's a really pretty palette. And I'm also gonna keep this one as well. This is the Fame palette, and this one was like their first cool tone palette they came out with all cool tones. And this is like the kind of neutrals I like. I'm always into cool tones. I'd rather wear a cool tone neutral than a warm tone neutral any day, so I'm keeping that. Here's the Flutter By palette. I think this is so pretty. It's a more lavender purpley leaning palette. I love this deep plum. I love the packaging on this one, so I'm definitely keeping this. Here we go, the My Little Pony palette. I don't think this is available anymore. I've had this for a while, and I'm actually going to let this one go. I hardly use it. Here is the Give It To Me Straight palette from ColourPop, and this one is like a rosy toned neutral palette, and I think it's really pretty. I like the tones. I like these kind of shades for neutral, so I'm holding on to this one as well. Here is the All I See Is Magic. This is also from like 2018 or 2017 holiday, and I used to love this palette so much. I loved the color story when I first got it. I played with it a lot, but since then I have not played with this. It's been a while, and I think I'm actually ready to let this one go. Here's the rest of my ColourPop palettes. These are all like the little mini ones, and I'm going to keep all of these. I love these little monochromatic palettes. Here's the Smoke Show palette. I don't know if it's called Smoke Show anymore, but this was their gray and black smoky palette. Love this a lot. I have the Ooh La La palette. This one is the very pinky one. Also think it's gorgeous. Here's the Meant to Be one, which is one of my favorite ones. I just love minty shades, and they're just so pretty, and I love greens. Is the Aha Honey palette. It's an all yellowy goldy palette. This one is a little too light for my liking. I wish they had some darker shades in here, but I do still like to use this with other palettes, so I'm keeping that one. Here is the Lilac You A Lot, a gorgeous lavender moment. Like I said, I'm keeping all of these. This is the Blue Moon palette. This is also one of my favorites in this like monochromatic series. The It's My Pleasure palette, also really good. Oh, so pretty. The Just My Luck, which is probably my most favorite one out of all of them. I just love green shades. I love the mix, the bright shade right here. This is so pretty and bright. And then these kind of grungy shades too. Gorgeous. And here's the Wet palette. I think this was, yes, this was a collaboration with Bretman, and I think this is a gorgeous color story, and this silver is actually really stunning, so I'm definitely keeping this. This is the Baroque palette from ColourPop. I love this. I did a try to get ready with me when I used this, so I will put that in the description below. So pretty. And then here's the Soul Jaded palette, which is one of my favorite palettes from ColourPop as well. I love to travel with this because it just has a huge range of colors, and I just love this color story. This was also a collaboration with Kathleen Lights. Very pretty. Now getting into my BH Cosmetics palette. So here we go. We have the Color Festivals palette. I don't remember when this came out, maybe last year, but I do really like the color story in this, and these shades are really pretty over here. They're really gorgeous, so I'm gonna actually keep this one. I don't think it's available anymore on BH Cosmetics website, but I'm keeping that. Then we have this one right here. This was a collaboration with Daisy Marquez. I think that's how you say her name. And the idea of the packaging was cute, but it's actually fallen apart. Like, I think the packaging annoys me the most. And I thought the color story was pretty, but I never gravitate to this thing just because the packaging irritates me, the setup, everything. So I'm going to actually let this one go. I have some of their little like mini palettes. I have the Illusion palette. I think I got this with like gift with purchase. It's pretty, but the quality is not as good as the bigger palettes. And I just don't really see myself really using this when I have these shades already in palettes I love. So I'm letting that go. I'm also letting go this one, which I think was also a gift with purchase, the Moroccan Sunset. This one is just okay. I've taken this on a couple trips with me, but the quality is just not that great, so I'm letting this go. I also have the Hanging in Hawaii palette. I actually think the quality is great. This is a beautiful neutral color story. I wish that they made it more colorful, being that it's supposed to be Hawaii themed, but I still love it, so I'm keeping this one. Here we have the Avocado Toast palette. I just got this in my collection. I played with it a little bit, but I definitely have to play with it some more, but this is such a beautiful green color story. I can't wait. Then I got this one. This is also new to my collection. This is the Blueberry Muffin palette, and this one too. Oh, this color story just really speaks to me. It's so pretty. I also have the Love in London. This is part of their travel series as well. This is a very cool toned palette. It's actually really pretty. It's one of my favorite cool tone palettes when I want like a neutral cool tone look. I have the Summer in Saint-Tropez. This one's really pretty. It's a fun, colorful color story, and like this exotic shade is really pretty. It's like a goldy green shade. This is swatch. It's not doing it justice, but it's really pretty. So I love this. I'm keeping this. Then I have the Beautiful in Barcelona one. I really like this color story. It's a more cool toned, muted color story, but still colorful. It's really pretty, like these rosy tones and these like muted purples and blues. Very nice. I also have the It's My Ray Ray collaboration. I think this was like her second palette collaboration with them. It's a beautiful jewel tone palette, but I don't think the quality is as good as like the travel series palettes, and I just never use it, so I'm gonna actually give this one away. Then I have some of these Sweet Shop palettes that I just got in the mail as well. I haven't played with any of these, but they look so pretty. Oh, this is gorgeous. Like, look at that. Whew, that's pretty. So I'm definitely keeping this. I got the Sweet Shop Pistachio palette. Oh, this is so pretty. Like, my dreams are made out of this. Like, do you see that? I cannot wait to create a look with this. And then I got the Bubblegum palette. Another gorgeous blue color story. I have to swatch some of these. Wow, what is BH Cosmetics doing over there? This is stunning. Then I have the Desert Oasis palette. I don't think they have this available anymore, but this is actually when I first really discovered how good BH Cosmetics formula had gotten, and it's really pretty. It's like a deserty vibe palette, and I really like this a lot, so I'm definitely holding on to this. This is definitely being decluttered. I got this also as a free palette, and it's terrible. Don't buy any of these palettes that are in this packaging. It's like the worst quality ever. All the shades look the same. It's crap, so this is definitely getting thrown away. This is from their Zodiac line that they did. This is the Pisces palette. This one is actually really pretty. Like, their Zodiac palettes didn't do so well because some of the color stories were terrible, but I actually thought this was a really pretty palette, so I'm keeping this one. And then I also had the Zodiac Aquarius palette because of course I love blue shades, and this one was actually really pretty as well. Like, some of the shades are really nice in this, so I'm holding on to these. So that's it for BH Cosmetics. Of course, I forgot another BH Cosmetics palette. This is the Opalescence palette, and I'm actually decluttering this one too. They're not as good as the travel series, like the quality is not that great in these. The shimmers are really lackluster. The mattes are okay, but this is just not fully my kind of color story, and it's too big for what it is. A lot of the shades look the same, and I'm just going to let this one go. Okay, so here is my Juvia's Place collection. I have a lot of their palettes. I think I have most of them. There are a few that I don't have that I will probably end up picking up eventually because I love Juvia's Place. So let's get into these ones. So here's the Nomad palette. I think this is a really pretty, like kind of grungy, warm toned palette. It's very pretty. I love this a lot, so I'm keeping this. Actually, I'm going to preface this. I'm going to keep all of them. None of these I'm getting rid of because Juvia's Place is my favorite. Is one of my favorite brands. I have the Saharan palette. This one is a nice kind of like muted, warm toned color story. I just got this in the mail. I haven't even played with it yet, but this is the Fumi and Juvia's Place collaboration. This is the Disco Party one. This is so pretty. I heard this blue was really good in reviews. These are 2 pressed glitters, but I don't mind. Here I have a bunch of the teeny ones. I think I have all of them except for the collaboration that they came out with, but I have the mauves. Very pretty. This is probably the most versatile one out of all the little mini ones. And the sweet pinks, which these shimmers are so vibrant. I have to swatch them for you. Like, do you see that? Do you see that? Love this. I have the Nubian Royal palette, which I actually did do a video on this palette and did a look with it, but this is really pretty. It does have one pressed glitter. And here's the other one that was in the video, the Nubian Glow palette. This one is really, really nice, especially this shade right here. It's a kind of like goldy green duochrome. I'm just a sucker for these kind of shades. So this is very, very pretty. Here is the Violets palette. This is one of my favorite ones in the mini series of theirs. It's just like a nice violet purpley palette. It has warm purples, cool tone purples. It has a nice deep shade. This one's very pretty. I have the nudes, which is my least favorite in the mini series, but I'm holding on to this because I like to pull this in if I need like a nude shade for a look. Another favorite one of mine is the Chocolates. Oh, this one is so dark and smoky and deep. I love these kind of neutral shades. Here is the Taupes. It's another one that's not my favorite because it's just so light and blah, but I do pull this in to use with other palettes. And last one, this one's also a really nice one. This is the Berries. Look at that. This is actually really stunning. I love this one a lot. So I have the Deuce palette, which is one of the first ones that I bought from them. I like this color story. It's different. It's fun. The Zulu palette, which is a nice big colorful one. Like this green shade. Yes, like those. Then here is the Tribe palette, and this is one of my like top ones from Juvia's Place because I love greens and the shades in here are absolutely stunning. Like this one, when you swatch it, it looks different swatch. Like in the pan it just looks like this boring like maybe white gold shade, but it has like a green shift to it and it's so pretty as like an inner corner highlight, and all the other shades just go so well together. I have the Magic Mini. This is one of my first ones too that I bought, and this is just such a versatile, colorful palette with neutrals. I like to travel with this one. I have the Nubian 2. This one is really nice. This is a very fall palette, a very muted color story, but yet still colorful. Very pretty. Here's the Masquerade palette, which I bought really early too. And this is another colorful mix with neutrals. Also a really good one to travel with. Here's the Saharan 2, and this one is so good. I don't think this one gets enough hype, but the color story is really stunning. This shade's beautiful. This is a gorgeous like peachy shade. Here is the Festivals palette, and this one is really nice, and this one has a really nice red matte in there, and then it has this kind of like dingy shade right here. This is a really pretty one too. I have the Warrior 3 palette, which is also really pretty. I did break that shade. Oh my god, it's already like breaking up some more. I'm so sad that that came broken, but these have some nice colorful mattes in here. The Nubian 3 Coral palette, a nice peachy moment, but this is a kind of different peachy color story because they threw in like these gray, like cool tone shades, and I thought the actual color story made it way more interesting than just like a coral palette. Very pretty. Here is the Afrique palette. I like this one a lot. This one has some like pop in here, but then these like more fall-y shades. I think this is a really nice color story as well. And here is the Wahala 2 palette. I think this is my #1 palette out of all my Juvia's Place palettes. This one has such a variety of colors and shades and textures, and I did do a review plus looks with this palette, so if you want to get more information about this and see swatches and everything, highly recommend. This one has 2 like dual chrome shades in here. Like what? Like look at that. I have to swatch that for you guys. And then this one right here, so pretty. Like what? Oh my god, if you haven't picked this one up and you've been wondering about it, you should. It's good, it's great, it's amazing. All right, so here's all my Nabla palettes that I have. I am not getting rid of any of these. Nabla is one of my favorite brands as well, especially for their eyeshadows. And here's the side by side palette. I did do a review video on this. I will link it down below as well, but this is a beautiful neutral color story with cool tones and warm tones. Such a gorgeous palette, great quality from Nabla. And then I have 3 of their little cutie palettes. This is the Platinum palette, which is my favorite one out of all of them. This is such a elevated neutral palette. I've talked about this so many times on my channel, and this shade, Luxuriance, like, do you see that? Liquid metal. If you're thinking about getting any of the cutie palettes, this is like my #1 recommendation if you like this color story. Here we have the Wild Berry cutie palette. This one is really pretty if you like a berry color story. It's really pretty. This Alchemy 2.0 shade is really nice as well. It's such a cool little like sparkly shade. Very pretty. And here is the Cutie palette. I really like this one, especially this red shade and like this corally shade. Like this is really pretty. It's kind of more like a topper shade that's really sparkly, and then this red shade is so nice. It's a satin red. Oh, very pretty palette. And this one, I guess it's considered like a palette, but this is a little glitter palette. I love that they put their glitters to the side in like an accent palette, but these are actually really good pressed glitters. Here's all my palettes from guysI. I'm keeping all of these. I just got this one in the mail. This is the Elva 2 palette. Haven't played with this one at all, but it's very nice. I like the color story. There are 2 pressed glitters in this, but I cannot wait. And the packaging, oh, I love their packaging. Then I have 3 of their little mini palettes. Here is the Mini Sky palette. Very beautiful, a little purple moment with a neutral. And here is the Ocean palette. Very pretty blue with some neutrals. And then here is the Mini Forest palette, which I actually broke this shade right here because I dropped it because I'm a klutz, but also some nice little greens in there and some teals. Here is the only palette that I have from Jeffree Star. I don't talk about him really on my channel, but I did pick this up because it was like a blue color story, and there wasn't a lot of these kind of palettes out there yet, so I'm keeping this. I do love it, like the color story and everything. But that is the only Jeffree Star palette that I have, and I probably won't ever like purchase any more from him. Here are my Color Rain palettes. This is all I have from them. I really do want to pick up the Queen of Hearts one, but I got this one in an Ipsy. This is a Vineyards 4-Away palette. This one is actually really pretty. It's a cool toned little mini color story, and I actually really like this a lot. And then here's the Juicy Boost palette. I did do a video on this one, and I did a look with it, and I thought it was overall pretty good. It's not my favorite palette, but I liked it, and I still want to keep using it and play with it. The shimmers are more on the chunky side, but I did like the mattes in here. Overall, it was a decent palette. Here's my only one LA Girl palette that I do have, and this is the Hot Hot Heat palette. I'm actually going to keep this one. Like, the quality in here is actually really, really good. Like, people don't ever talk about this palette, but it's actually a really good formula for the drugstore. Like, look at that shade. Very pretty. Like, the shimmers in here are absolutely stunning for a drugstore palette. I highly recommend this one. I think it's still available. I actually really like this. Here is all of my Pure palettes, and I'm going to get rid of some of these. I'm keeping all of these little mini ones from the Trolls collection that they did. These are actually really good. They're super travel friendly, and I just love like the color stores. Like, look at that. No one ever talked about these. Like, they got no hype, but they were so pretty. Like, the shimmers in here were glorious. And here is that was the Techno one. This is the classical one. This is a neutral one, but yet again, shimmers are gorgeous in here. Here is the Funk one, which is a purple color story. So good. They had the Pop one, which is a pink color story. Like, these are just so pretty. And then here is the Rock one. Oh, this one is cool too, and that red is actually really nice in here. It's like a satin. And then these three, I got all of these in my BoKXP, which I seem to declutter their palettes a lot, but I'm actually going to get rid of all three of these. I never use them. I never touch them. I have the Midnight Masquerade. I don't even think these are available anymore. Like, I hate this little mirror. These shades are okay. I did like the face palette part of it. Like, these blushes and highlighters are actually pretty, but I hate when they put face products in palettes, and I just never reach for this, so I'm getting rid of that. Here is the Pure Festival 2.0 palette. This one's pretty, but yet again, I never reach for it. It just doesn't speak to me, so I'm going to give this one away. And I'm also going to give this one away. This is the Festivals, like the first one that they did. These have 2 pressed glitters. I don't really like the pressed glitter formula in this. And then the rest of the shades are just kind of blah. And this like one random pop of purple. Wasn't a fan of this one, so I'm letting this go. Okay, so here are my only palettes from Milani, and I'm actually going to get rid of both of these. I don't like the mattes in these palettes. The shimmers were really pretty, but the mattes are terrible. I have the Gilded Noir palette, which the color story is just so pretty, but these mattes just blend away to nothing, so bye-bye. And then here's the Gilded Rouge one, also a really pretty color story. This one also had pressed glitters in it that weren't very good. And yet again, the mattes just really suck in these. Here are all my Too Faced palettes, and I'm going to let some of this go because there's some that I don't use. Here's the Just Peaches matte palette. I actually really love this one. The quality of the mattes are so good in this. I love the peachy scent of this, so I'm not letting this one go. I use this one a lot with other palettes. Here is the Best Year Ever palette. This was a release for 2018 holiday, and I actually had a lot of fun with this palette. I used it a lot, but I just don't use it as much anymore because I have so much more things that I love in my collection more than the formula in here. So it's time to let this go. I'll probably see if anybody wants this, or I will just throw it away. I have this one too. This is the I Want Candy palette. I think this was like a collaboration with, is it Candy Johnson? I don't remember who this collab was with, but here it is. It is pretty, but it's really muted. It's lackluster. The quality is okay. I'm not a fan of all these like bigger pans in here, and I'm actually just going to let this go. And I hate the packaging on here. I hate that it bubbles up here. And it just feels cheap. Here is the Chocolate Gold palette, and I'm keeping this one. To me, this is the best Too Faced palette. I mean, I haven't tried all of them, but this is really good. Like, this is such a beautiful palette. The shimmers are so good in this, and the mattes are really nice. I like the chocolate scent, so I'm keeping this one for sure. Here is my only Ciate London palette, and I'm actually going to declutter this one. I recently got this in a BoKXP, but the formula is just okay. The shimmers are just not as vibrant as I like them to be, and the mattes are cool. I don't know, I don't think about this palette. I don't gravitate to it. It's an okay palette. I feel like these are more like satins than they are metallic, so I'm just going to let this one go. Here's a one-off palette. I got this in a BoKXP from Studio Makeup. It is terrible. It's like trying to be a dupe for one of the Naked palettes, but it's crap, like crap. So this is definitely getting thrown away. I don't even want to give this to anybody. Here is a one-off face candy palette that I have, and this one is actually really pretty. This is the Atlantis palette. This was a not a lot of like green and blue color story palettes were out there when this released, and I really love this, so I'm not going to let this one go. Has a special place in my heart for some reason, so I'm going to hold on to this. Here are my two Lethal Cosmetics palettes, and oh, I love these so much. These aren't going anywhere. But this is the After Dark palette. So freaking pretty. Lethal has such a good formula. Here is the Velvet Dust palette. A nice grungy palette. They complement each other so well. I'm so happy I have these. Here is all of my Kaleidos Cosmetics palettes, and these are some of my favorite in my collection, so these aren't going anywhere at all. But here is the Escape Pod palette. Oh, I love this. I did do a video on this one as well. Swatches, looks so pretty. And then here's all from their Futurism collection. I have all of them except one, which ended up getting discontinued. But here's the Lunar Lavender palette. I did do a video on this one. This one wasn't my favorite because the purple one's kind of a dud, but all the other ones are stunning, especially like this purple shimmer. Like, look at that. So pretty. Oh, this is so pretty. Here is the Electro Turquoise palette. This is also really stunning. It's a turquoise dream, and this one right here and this one, so pretty. Like, I can't stop swatching everything, but this is really nice. Here is the Futurism Bronze palette. Nice warm toned neutral palette, and this silver shade is so pretty as well, like liquid metal. Here is the Sashimi City palette, which is new to my collection. I've played with it once, but this is a nice neutral color story for people that don't like a lot of color, but the quality is excellent. The shimmers are beautiful. Like, come on, guys. What are you waiting for? If you haven't tried Kaleidos, what are you waiting for? Here is the Astro Pink palette. This is also very pretty. Like, this blue is really nice, and the mattes are nice in here. I like that they have a deep dark shade in there. And here is my most favorite one out of the Futurism series, and this is the Sci-Fi Green palette. Like, look at this grungy green gloriousness. Like, these olive mattes, I love this. These two shimmers are really pretty. I can't get enough of Kaleidos. Anything they release, I will purchase. Alright, here is my one palette from Black Moon Cosmetics. I will eventually post that video that I did on this. Maybe not. But this is actually really pretty. Not my favorite like formula, but I do really like this, so I'm going to keep this. Here are my two palettes from Give Me Glow. I have the Vintage Rose palette. These are so good. Like, oh. And then I have the Vivid Rose palette, which they just recently released this one. And it's also just a really, really pretty palette. I did do a video on this one if you want to check that out. And then here is my one palette from Lunar Beauty, and this one is so good as well. I did do a video, did 3 looks with this, and this is just such a smoky neutral palette. Love this in the packaging. Oh, so pretty. Here is all my palettes from Nomad Cosmetics. I have the Cartagena palette. Like I said, I did do a video on this one. It's so pretty. It's like a monochromatic color story. All of these I'm keeping. The Orient Express palette. This one is really pretty. There is a video on this one as well on my channel. Here is the Tokyo palette. I just bought this one during Black Friday, and I haven't played with it yet, but it's a pretty like pastel moment. And here is the Berlin Underground palette, which is a nice muted color story. And I think this is such a beautiful like color story for the fall. Okay, I forgot to mention this with my Nomad palettes, but this is the Studio 54 Multichrome Disco Shadow palette. It's a small little 4-pan palette. These are like shimmer toppers, and I just got this in my collection. I haven't used it yet, but I can't wait. I think this is cute. I really like Nomad Cosmetics. All their palettes are travel themed and like destination themed. Really good. Here's my one palette from Sydney Grace. This is the Tiny Marvels one. Also, there's a video of this on my channel, and this is so good. Like, this Scarab shade is so pretty, and this like Fire Butts one is really pretty. Like, look at that. That's a like dual chrome shade. That one has like a little minty shift to it. Really, really good quality. These are also from Too Faced. I forgot to show you these, but this is so pretty. This is the Sparkling Pineapple palette, and this one had a bunch of different textures in it, and they didn't get a lot of hype, these palettes, but they're really, really pretty, so I'm not letting this go. And the packaging is like my favorite. I love pineapple printed stuff. And here is the Razzle Dazzle Berry palette, also super pretty packaging. And this was like a berry palette, and the shades are really nice in this as well. Like, I don't know why people didn't talk about this enough. Like look at that. That is so good. I'm keeping these. I love the fruit packaging. I'll probably never let these go because of the packaging. Here are all of my Huda palettes. This is the new Nudes palette. I love this one. It's really nice. I'm not getting rid of any of these. I have the Mercury Retrograde palette, which I did recently rank this in one of my videos, and this one is probably my favorite palette from Huda Beauty, like her best one that she's done. Here is the Rose Gold Remastered palette. This one is really nice. I do like this one as well. And then here's the first one that I ever bought from Huda, and this is the Desert Dust palette. Also a nice little like sunsetty palette. Then I have 4 of her little mini like Obsessions palettes. The Coral Obsession. These ones are like really good as well, and I love this color story. I have the Mauves Obsession. Also love this color story. I love like they have a lot of deep shades in this one. And here is the Topaz Obsession. This is such like a fall palette. Like look at that. And this color right here. Oh, love it. And then here is my favorite one. This is the Emerald Obsession one, and I just love the green combination in here. They've got some grungy greens, some deeper greens, a little like mint matte. This is really pretty. So those are all my Huda palettes. Here is my only Urban Decay palette. This is the Born to Run one, and I think this is really good. Like this is a good color story. I love to travel with this one, and I think that overall the quality is really nice in this. Here is my one Stila palette. This is the Happy Hour palette. This one is actually really nice. Like the shimmers are really good. The mattes are absolute shit, but the shimmers are really, really sparkly and pretty and just gorgeous. Like, do you see that? Really nice. Here are all my ABH palettes, and I love all of these, so I'm not getting rid of any of these. But here's the Sultry palette, which I think she re-released. This is a very cool toned neutral palette. Really nice. I have the Jackie Aina palette, which this is my favorite one from ABH. So pigmented and rich and vibrant. Oh, this is so pretty. I have the Prism palette. This is the first palette I ever bought from them, and I actually really thought this color story was really interesting and fun. And then I have these 2 big ones from the Norvina release. This is the Volume 1 and Volume 2 palette. I'm not letting these go. These are actually really good. They're just really big, but the actual formula in this is really stunning, and I love the shades in here. I just don't use them enough. And then I have this one, I think this is the Volume 2 one, and this one is probably my favorite out of the 2. Just the greens and the mattes, they're really pretty, really good mattes in here, so I'm keeping this one. Here are my Dose of Color palettes. This is the Desi times Katie Friendscation palette. This one is so freaking good. I love this one. The mattes are really nice, but the shimmers are just so good. They're so sparkly and pretty and just really, really nice. So I'm keeping this, and I'm also keeping all of these. Oh, my stuff's getting so messy. Here's the Smoky Soiree palette. This is so nice and smoky and dark. And the Cutting Edge palette, which is a nice grungy palette. I did do a video on these too. And here is the Blushing Berries palette. This is one of their all matte palettes, and these mattes are really nice. Like, they have such a good matte formula. Here is my one Sigma palette. I did do a video on this one as well, but this one is so good. It ranked really high in my like palette ranking video that I did. Such a good color story. Highly recommend this one. Is my one KVD Beauty. This was when it was Kat Von D, but they're KVD Beauty now because she's no longer with the brand. But this is their 10-year anniversary palette that they did. I actually really love this palette, and I use it a lot, so I'm keeping this as well. Here's a one-off palette as well. This is my one Pretty Vulgar palette. This is the Nightingale palette. I got in a BoxyCharm. I used it actually a lot because it was a nice like cool toned color story, but I'm actually going to let this one go. I just don't use it a lot so I'm gonna give that one away. Here's my only beauty bakery palette that I have. This is the Breakfast in Bed, and I recently got this in a BoKXP, but it's just too muted for me. Like the shimmers are just way too subtle, and the mattes are okay, but overall it just doesn't speak to me, so I'm gonna give this one away. Here is a one Butter London palette that I have, and this is definitely going away. This is the Teddy Boy palette. I do like the color story in here, but the quality, the shimmers are just so lackluster, and I'm just not feeling it, so I'm gonna give this one away. So here are my two Bad Habit palettes, and I'm actually getting rid of both of these. Bad Habit doesn't exist as a brand anymore, and these were good when I had them, but they're not like the best quality. They were like super affordable, cool color stories, but I don't use these at all. Here's the Pretty Poison palette. Cool color story, but I have so many of these kind of shades in other palettes that I love more, so I'm never going to use these, so these are going. Here are my two Tarte palettes. Here is the Pro Remix one. I'm actually going to keep this one. This is their like take on a colorful palette, and I actually really like this one, and I have traveled with it. I just wish that there were more mattes in this, but I'm going to keep this, and I'm actually going to give this one away to probably one of my friends. This is their Pro palette, and this is a very neutral, kind of muted color story. Here is the Hello Charmer palette. This was from BoKXP. I actually think this is kind of cool. Like the textures in here are different, so I'm gonna actually keep this one, play with it some more, and if I don't play with it this year, I'll let it go. So I'm gonna hold on to this. Here are two Hip Dot palettes that I both got in BoKXP, and I'm keeping these. I actually really like these. This one is like a nice warm toned vibe. This is the Zion palette. I actually think this is really pretty, and I've actually played with this a lot, so I'm keeping that. And then this is the C-Note palette, and I really do like this color story. I haven't played with it yet, but I think it's so pretty, so I'm going to definitely keep this one. Here are all my Violet Voss palettes, and I'm keeping all of these. I really like Violet Voss as a brand. This is one of my favorite palettes, like of all time. This is the Sugar Crystals palette. This is so good, like the shimmers. I have talked about this palette so many times on my channel, so this is not going anywhere. Here's the Flamingo palette. This is like a summer palette that they did. I think this is so cute. I love the names, I love the packaging, so I'm definitely holding on to this one. And here is the Best of Life palette. This one has like a whole thing of pressed glitters, which I know most people would probably hate that, and then they have the regular shadows here and then a mirror, but I like this a lot, so this is not going anywhere, so I'm keeping this as well. Here is my one palette from Blush Tribe, which Blush Tribe doesn't exist anymore, but this was the Hasina 2 palette. I will never let this thing go. I love this blue, green, purple color story. I have this one certified palette, which I also don't think exists as a brand anymore. I think they might have also been owned by Blush Tribe, or like the same company owner. And here it is. Yes, a green blue color story, and the quality in here is so good. I will never let this one go as well. Here are my Zoeva palettes. I'm definitely keeping this one for sure. This is the Melody palette. This one is a neutral palette with like a pop of purple, and it's actually really good quality, so I'm holding on to that. Here is the Blanc Fusion. I got this in a BoKXP, and I'm actually gonna let this go. It's way too muted for me. The shimmers are like more like satins than anything, and it just doesn't speak to me, so I'm going to give this one away. And then here's my last one. This is the Precious palette. I think this came out holiday 2019, I think, but this is really pretty. It's really good. The shimmers are really nice in this, so I'm definitely holding on to this one. Here's all my OPP beauty palettes. I'm keeping all of these. Here's the Ocean palette. This one is really pretty. Love this. Here is the Splash palette. I really like this one too. It's their Rainbow palette, especially the shade right here, Phantom. That is really pretty. You guys can't even see that. It's a really pretty shade, so I'm definitely holding on to this. And then this is the Yamaha palette, and this is so pretty. It's a nice like muted color story, but still colorful and really nice for like the fall time. Love it. Here is the Top T Beauty palette volume 1. I was hoping that she was going to release more volumes last year, but she didn't, so I don't know what's going on with the brand. But this was her textured neutrals palette. It's all like monochromatic rose, and the quality in here is really nice. Like the mattes are excellent. The pressed glitters are actually a really nice formula. The shimmers, So I'm definitely holding on to this. Okay, so here are my Dominique Cosmetics palettes. Here's the Berries and Cream one. This one is really pretty, nice little berry moment. I'm holding on to this. And then here's the Rustic Glam palette. I'm also keeping this. It's a nice like color story, very like bohemian, almost like Moroccan. I really like the theme of this. And then here's this little one I got in an Ipsy. These are all matte. I think this was like their cozy palette or something, but I actually really like this. The quality is great, so I'm holding on to this one as well. Here are my Ace Beauté palettes. They don't have my favorite formula, but they have some of the best color stories, so I just try my best to work with them. Here's the Oceanic palette. I love this color story, and it's actually pretty good. You just have to build up the mattes, and you have to work a little bit with the shimmers, so I'm holding on to this one. Here's the Grandiose palette. It's cute, but I'm actually going to let this go. I never use it, so I'm going to give that away. And then here is their like series that they came out with. You could buy this in a bundle, but they all came out together. And here is the Slice of Paradise palette. It's a colorful palette. I'm keeping these. I don't know why. Just the color stories just are so good. I can't let them go. Here's the Classical Paradise palette. Like, this color story is the best. It's a fall palette, and I just wish the quality was better because they have like some of the best color stories. Here's the Paradise Fallen palette, a nice purple moment, and here is the Blossom Paradise palette, which is also really pretty. Here's my one palette from Alamar Cosmetics, and this is so good. This is a really nice palette in this El Malecon shade. What? Like, that shade alone is why I want to keep this palette, so I'm holding on to this. And then I have these two Crown palettes. This is the Crown Pro. I actually really like this palette. It's a very like rusty color story, and I actually use this a lot, especially in the fall time. I think like the shimmers are really nice and the mattes are really nice in this too, so I'm holding on to this. Here is the Glam Metals. It's an all metallic palette, and I'm actually going to get rid of this. This is more muted, and I just have metallics in my collection that I like better, so I'm going to give this away. And then I have this one palette from Eloise. It's the Queen palette. I got this in a BoxyCharm, and I actually think that this is pretty good. I like the color story. I like the options in here, so I'm going to hold on to this. There is two palettes that I have from Ipsy. This was a collaboration they did with Tetris, and I actually really like these. This is the Game On palette. Like, I really love this like mustardy shade right here. Oh, love it. And the actual shimmers in here are really nice. And then I have the Block Party one, and this one is really good too. It's a cool tone palette. Shimmers are nice, mattes are good. So I'm keeping these little ones for now. Alright, so here are all of my Morphe palettes. I have the Vault collection from Jaclyn Hill. I actually really like the color stories in this, and I think I got a decent formula. I know that they had to like redo their shadows, and I got like the second batch, so I'm keeping these. This is the Bling Boss one, the purpley palette. Here is the Armed and Gorgeous. It's like a grungy palette. Then there's the Ring the Alarm, which is a warm toned neutral palette. And then this one's my favorite one, the Dark Magic one. This is like a dark kind of grungy color story. So I'm actually going to hold on to these. Forgot to mention this Butter London one. It was in the back, but this is their, I don't even know what this is called, but I'm actually going to let this go. It's not my favorite color stories, and the shimmers are more like satins than anything, so I'm going to give this away. Also forgot to mention this was my Tarte palettes. I'm giving this one away. This is the Rainforest of the Sea Volume 3. It's mainly shimmers, and it's just so muted, so neutral, and there's only one matte in here, and it's so light. Like, why would you only give one light matte? So this is going away. These two palettes from Wet n Wild. I'm actually decluttering these. I've had these for a long time, but I thought they were really good for like drugstore palettes and for being so cheap. This is the Rose in the Air one. This was like a Modern Renaissance dupe, and I'm letting this one go. This was called Not a Basic Peach. It was good when I had it, but I never think to reach to these. Here are two palettes that I have from Kaleido Cosmetics. This is not Kaleido, this is a different brand. There's no S on the end of this. But here is the, what is these called? This is the Vacay Vibes palette. I'm actually going to give this one away. The shimmers are just not my favorite, and it's only shimmers in this, so that's going. But I'm going to keep this one. This is called the Aquaholic palette, and these are actually really nice. Like, look at that color story. I wish that there were mattes in this because this is all shimmers and satins, but if there was mattes, this would be like such a nice dark grungy color story. So I'm holding on to this one. The palette that I got from Ipsy, this is the Laura Sanchez palette. This is the Moods palette. I'm actually gonna let this go. I've only used it a few times. Color story doesn't speak to me, and it has 2 highlighters in it, and I hate when there's face products in a palette, and I never ever reach for this, so I'm gonna give this one away. Here are all of my Kimchi Chic palettes. I'm actually going to keep all of these. I actually like them. Here's the You Make Me Happy palette. It's a like neutral, half colorful palette, but the actual quality is really nice in these. So I'm holding on to this. The I'm Feeling Sweet is a neutral but leaning very warm palette. Like, look at that. And these shimmers are actually really nice in this. Like, they're really nice. Overall, just a really good palette. Then these are the Juicy 9 mini palettes she came out with. This is my favorite one. This is the Virgin Mojito one. Look at how fun and bright that is. Here is the Chocolate Melt palette, which is a neutral little mini palette, great for travel. Here's the Juicy Velvet. This one's not my favorite one. It's an all shimmer palette, and a lot of them lean more like satin-like, but I'm still holding on to that. And here's the Mango Tango palette, which is all mattes in it. Overall nice. I wish there were more varieties in the colors, but I do like it. So here are all of my Glam Light palettes, and these I'm all keeping. I really love Glam Light as a brand. Like, this is one of my most favorite palettes. This is the Ice Cream Dream palette that I did a video on, and look at that color story. These are so pretty with the pastels and the neutrals, and then they have some deep nude shades. So good. Here is the Chocolate Donut palette. I also filmed a video on this. This was in their Chocolate Factory foodie box. Oh, a nice neutral palette. It's really good quality. Here is the Pie palette, which is like a more pinky palette with some purples. The Street Taco palette. I like this vibe of this one. It's really nice. And here is the Veggie Lovers Pizza palette, and this is a nice like grungy, more green toned palette. It's not my favorite one from Glam Light, probably my least favorite one, but I still use it. And here is the Cake palette. This is such a beautiful rainbow palette, such a nice like color story, and the quality is so good. The mattes are really nice, and the shimmers are great, so this is not going anywhere. Here are my Natasha Denona palettes, and you guys know this is not going anywhere. Natasha Denona is one of my favorite brands ever to exist, but I have one of their smaller little palettes. This was one of their holiday releases. This is the Aries palette. This is really nice. I really like this one. I have the Sunrise palette. I actually really like this one. It's not my favorite one. I think I like the other ones better, but it is a really pretty little like sunsetty vibe. Then I have the Lila palette. This is pretty. I wish there was more purples in this, but it's not my favorite one, but I do like it. I have the Trichrome palette. I did a video on this, and I really like the mattes in here. The trichromes aren't my favorite. They're very subtle, but it's still overall a good palette. Here's the Gold palette. This is one of my favorite ones, and this is just so pretty. Like, the shimmers in here are absolutely stunning. Like this one right here, I love using this with like the turquoise shades. I will never ever let this one go. And then here is my most favorite, probably my number one, is the Metropolis palette, which I've raved about a lot on my channel. I've ranked it so high. The mattes are so good. There's some dark shades in here. The shimmers are excellent. The color story overall is really nice. It's like a half colorful, half neutral palette. Highly recommend this one. Here are all my Melt Cosmetics palettes, and I'm not getting rid of any of these. This is the Muerte palette. I just love this, and this is the palette I used for the look that I had on in the intro of this video. It's so pretty, such a unique color story, so many dark vampy mattes, like, oh, and I don't think this one's available anymore. It was limited edition. And here's the Smoke Sessions palette. I bought this because, you know, I just love a green moment. This one is not my favorite one out of the three. This shade here is like all weird and just not the best, but everything else was really pretty in this palette. And here's the Blueprint palette, which I recently just got and did a video on, and I think this is so good. It's so pretty. The mattes are excellent here. The shimmers are really nice. I like the half blue, half neutral moment. Highly recommend this one. Here is the Golden Gatsby palette. This is from LA Splash Cosmetics. It's the only palette I have from them, but I'm actually going to keep this. The shimmers aren't my favorite. They're more on the flaky side, but the mattes are really nice in here, and you can work with the shimmers, and this shade right here alone is probably what's making me want to keep this palette the most. It is such a nice grungy green dingy color, and I like that. Here are these palettes I have from Unique Beauty. I don't even know if this brand exists anymore. The packaging is super cheap on these. They're terrible and falling apart, but these are actually really good. So here is the Pop palette. Like the shades are like falling apart, but the actual pigmentation and like the metallics in here are stunning. Like look at that. And I just wish the packaging wasn't so terrible, but do you see how pigmented that red is? Like what? I don't know where this brand is. I don't remember buying it. I don't even know if they still exist, but I got these a while ago, but this one is like falling apart. But it's, look at that. Like look at these shades. Like, ooh, I'm swatching like terrible, but they're just so pigmented, and that's why I won't let them go. That was the Spring Fling palette. Here is the Bee Bash palette. This is the Night Out. Like look at this Smoky Dream. And here is the Dark Souls. Like this. Oh, I'm not doing a great swatch. Is really pigmented. I'm like so impressed by these. Just the packaging is awful. And look at that. This is the Drama Queen. So I'm keeping all of these. Here is the three little e.l.f. palettes that I have. These are the little bite-sized ones. This is the guysI palette. Here is the Rose Water palette. These are actually pretty decent for being only $3. And here's the Hot Jalapeno palette. Here are the two palettes that I have from Kiko Milano. This is the Tuscan Sunshine palette. Here's the Spring Awake one. These are actually really nice. Here is my one palette from Lime Crime. This is the Venus XL2 palette. I'm actually going to hold on to this, and I don't even know why. It's not the best quality, but the color story and the mattes are really nice in here. It's just some of the shimmers here already have hard pan, but this is just not going to go anywhere, so I'm going to keep this one. Here is my one palette from Storybook Cosmetics. This is the Fairy Tales palette. I got in a boxy charm. This is actually really pretty. I mean, the shades are pretty good in here, and the packaging is real bulky, but I'm really just keeping this for the look of it, like more for display purposes. Okay, so I wasn't actually going to show these, but then I thought, hey, these are part of my like eyeshadow palette collection. So these are all of my like single shades that I have. So here is one that I have from ColourPop. These are all ColourPop shades. Just wanted to show you guys this really quick. Then I have this one. This has all of my Divina shadows in it. I'm planning to do a swatch video with these shades and the new collection that still hasn't arrived yet in the mail. Then I have this one. This is all my JD Glow shadows. I did do a video swatching all of these shadows. Then I have this one right here. This is all of my Cleona shades, and I did do a swatch video on all of these. These are from the Stained Glass collection, and then these are from like their regular shadows. Here is all of my singles from Cindy Grace. I'm actually working on a swatch video for this, so that will be coming soon on my channel. And then I have this last one here, and this has all of my Luxie shades in here, and I'm planning to do a video swatching all of these as well. And here is my custom palette that I made from We Makeup. So I picked up some of their singles and made my own little palette, so I'm thinking I'm going to do a video on this as well. But look how pretty this is. Okay guys, that was my entire collection. I was able to successfully declutter 36 palettes. I know that's not a lot compared to my collection, but it is for me, and some of these things I'll either throw away or give away to family. But I just hope that this video was enjoyable for you guys, and if it was, please give me a thumbs up and let me know in the comments below how you're doing, what you've been up to. Are you doing a declutter and cleaning out for 2020? 2021 for a new year. I love hearing from all of y'all. And if you are new here and you like fashion, makeup, beauty, and all that fun stuff, then hit that subscribe button and join this little family we got going on. And don't forget to click that notification bell so you're notified every time I post a video. And also don't forget to check out the description below. I'll have all relevant videos there, anything that I did like reviews on, and the palettes that I showed you guys today, I will have that in the description, as well as my contact information. I'm also on Instagram as Breezy Lifestyle. I'll have my name pop up on the screen. I would love for you guys to join my Instagram fam as well. But that was everything, guys. I hope you're doing well wherever you are in the world, and just sending you love and light. But until next time, bye guys.